I'm going to need a sip of dew for this one. Breakfast of Champions. It's starting again. Now that it's official, no surprise to me, that LeBron James will play next year for the Philadelphia 76ers. He will turn 42, year 24. It's starting again, like a plague sweeping across the internet. I'm starting to see again and again and again across the internet, this proves that LeBron James is the GOAT. Wrong, wrong, triple wrong. Do I have to do this again? Playing longer does not mean that you were better. Playing longer has zero to do with your career being better than obviously a far, far superior basketball player that was Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And by the way, just quick point of order here. Would you believe that Michael Jordan played 92% of the possible games during his career? 92%. That means he only missed 8% of the games during his career. LeBron James has played only 86% of the possible games during his career. So he has missed 14% of possible games he could have played. And by the way, Michael Jordan maxed out his career because 9 times he played all 82 games. He also had an 81-game season and an 80-game season. LeBron only 1 time played all 82 games in a season, just for the record. You can't be the GOAT when you're 4-6 in the NBA Finals. You can't be the GOAT when Ray Allen's greatest clutch shot I have ever seen in the history of basketball saved you after you LeBricked the tying shot. Ray Allen's three-pointer from the corner saved you, flat out saved you from being 3-7 in the finals. And a pandemic saved you from being 2-7, because clearly, if there's no pandemic, LeBron, you don't get 4 whole months off at age 35 to get ready for a playoff run in a bubble in Orlando to win a Mickey Mouse championship that most of the teams in the bubble did not want to even stay for to win. Most did not want to win. I know the Clippers were the favorites. They just mutinied on Doc Rivers, said we want out, and they blew a 3-1 lead ahead of obviously getting to play the Lakers, because they would have beaten the Lakers. LeBron would have had no chance without a pandemic. So that saved him from being 2-7 in the finals. That's what he would be. Without Ray Allen and the pandemic, he would right now be 2-7 in the NBA Finals. That is not GOAT. Michael Jordan obviously was 6-0 in the NBA Finals with 6 MVPs, including, I was there in the front row, press row, at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, including a walk-off shot in which he held the pose at the free throw line. You can't fairy tale finish it any better than Michael finished his career. That was Game 6, 1998. I was there. You can't be the GOAT when you won 1 scoring title. I know you're the all-time leading scorer just on longevity. I will give you. You're the longevity GOAT. I've given you that, LeBron. But you can't be the real GOAT. You can just be the phony longevity GOAT. You can't be the real GOAT if you won 1 to Michael Jordan's 10 scoring titles. Game over, case closed. Stop it. You can't be the GOAT when you're a career 74% free throw shooter. You can't be the GOAT when you're a career 34% three-point shooter. You just can't be. Because by superstar standards, those are pathetic numbers. 74% and 34%. Pathetic. Sorry. Bottom of the barrel. Come on, stop it. You're the all-time leading scorer just because you lasted longer. You can't be the GOAT just because you were more blessed physically than anybody who ever played the game because you've had 0 surgeries, LeBron James. So blessed. Thank you, injury gods. LeBron James has had 0 surgeries that I'm aware of. Maybe he had one that was not disclosed, but I don't think so. I think he's had 0 surgeries in his career. There's a lot of luck involved there. There's a lot of thank you, injury gods. Maybe it's almost spiritual, not that LeBron's a particularly spiritual man, but I can't explain it. You played long, your spirit stayed high for the game, and you're committed again, you're back in the lab. But I keep asking. Every year I ask the same question. You post all these workout videos. Back in the lab, busting my ass. Doing what do you do in the lab? I get it that you lift weights. I get it that you do some cardio. I appreciate that. I live weights and cardio. I'm not you, but I'm a whole lot older than you, and I'm in really, really, really good shape. I'm 5%. I get it. I know what that regimen requires. I got it. But you go in the lab, and you're a physical specimen, but not once you're year 24 and you can't improve your free throw shooting or three-point shooting. I want to see just one video from the lab, LeBron, in which I get to see you working with the shooting coach. The Thunder have the old Spurs shooting coach, Chip England, who's just a wizard. Why don't you hire him in the offseason or something? Why don't you find some shooting coach who can take you into the lab where you commit? You don't play golf in the offseason. You just shoot free throws. Maybe you work with a mental coach. Maybe you figure out how to shoot better. You've had blips of three-point shooting, but last year you were 31.7%. It ranked 159th out of 162 qualified three-point shooters in the NBA last season. It's just pathetic. And your late-game free throw shooting is just disastrous. Which brings me to, you can't be the GOAT when your resume is just potholed with monumental flameouts. Monumental. Michael Jordan had no epic fails in his career. I'm talking about epic fails where you say, wow, how did that happen? What happened to you there, Michael? And what happened to you there? I mean, the Pistons figured out how to beat Jordan, and it became a book called The Jordan Rules. It took the Jordan Rules for the Pistons to keep Jordan down for a while until he finally said, okay, that's enough. And the great Tim Grover took him in the gym and got him into the kind of physical condition he was going to need to be in to overpower the bad boy Pistons, and he did that. No epic fails. Even, they got swept by Boston. Was that his second year? He scored 63 in game 1 at the Garden. I don't know. And that's when Larry Bird said, I think that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Okay, so that's not an epic fail. I'm looking at the epic fails that started that 2010 year, the last year of first stint in Cleveland, when my man Stephen A. is reporting after you fail in games 4, 5, and 6, you're up 2-1, played a great game 3 in Boston Garden, just great. I thought it was, I could make a case that was the best game you ever played. And then 4, 5, and 6, you just shrink and disappear. And somebody from your inner circle, see Rich Paul, is putting out the report through Stephen A. that you had to be sedated because you're having a locker room issue with a teammate. You had to be sedated before games 4, 5, and 6. So that's the excuse for that one. Then there's no excuse for the next year, first year with the Heatles, as in the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Pat Riley. And you're up 2-1, and you're in Dallas, and you go back to your hotel room and you make a list of, I told you I'm going to tell these people so, and I'm number 1 on that list. I'm going to tell him so. Tell him so. 4, 5, and 6, you just crater. You just collapse. The stats are just pathetic, and you lose 4, 5, and 6, and you lose in 6. Ray Allen saves you in 2013. 2014, it's 1-1 going back to Miami. You just shrink and disappear in games 3 and 4. You get blown off the floor in 5 by a record finals margin. Congratulations, San Antonio Spurs. 2015, you're up 2-1. You play 3 incredible games. Now you've got game 4 in your house against Steph and Clay and Draymond with no KD. And no can do. Game 4 was just a disaster for you, LeBron. You had a GOAT chance. That was your best GOAT opportunity right there, and you blew it badly. Lost in 6. 2016, Draymond gets suspended for game 5. Kyrie saved you in game 7. 2017, you get gentlemen swept. 2018, game 1 at Oracle, you shoot it better from outside than I've ever seen you shoot it. And then you get the last second shot. It's a do or die shot. You're down 1. It's going to be sink or swim. You got the hottest hand you've ever had in any playoff game. And you get a switch up high onto Steph. 6'3" Steph on 6'9" LeBron. And all you do, you just go up. You got the Jordan shot here, just beyond the free throw line. You could hold the pose and walk it off, and you'd have a monumental upset. Game 1 at Oracle. You could have done that, LeBron, and you passed it to George Hill. You made the right basketball play. Baloney. Right play to George Hill. I never liked him when he was a Spur, and obviously Clay tackles him, and he goes and makes the first one, misses the second one. JR loses his mind, loses track of the clock. You pout during the break before overtime. You pout the first 2.5 minutes of overtime. You won't shoot, and you get blown off the floor in overtime. I'm sorry. Not GOAT. Not GOAT. Not GOAT. You end up that series. You get swept by the Golden State Warriors, and you come to your post game after game 4 wearing some kind of weird soft cast on your right hand, claiming that you broke your hand in anger against the whiteboard in the locker room because you were so mad at JR. I got to take another sip of dew. I'm losing it, man. You come to the Lakers. Your Laker legacy says that you missed the playoffs twice, you got swept twice, you got gentlemen swept twice, and you won a Mickey Mouse championship, a cubic zirconia ring. Since that cubic zirconia ring, your playoff record in LA was 16-26. That's the worst winning percentage over that span of any player who played in the playoffs. 16-26, not goatish. You're 22-33 in the finals. Of anybody who's played 30 or more finals games. That is the worst winning percentage in NBA history in the NBA finals, 22-33. Not goatish. Not. I've given you longevity GOAT. I'm not going to give you anywhere near GOAT. And I'll leave it at this. I was recently on vacation. I was in a fitness room at the hotel, running on the treadmill. Next to me was a bike, a bright stationary bike. Woman gets on. She waits until I'm finished. Got my towel, I'm wiping the sweat off. Run for an hour, and she says to me, "Do you believe LeBron's the GOAT?" And I'm like, what? This just happened a week ago. Seriously? And then dawns on me. She did it with a straight face, and she obviously knew who I was, and she wanted to know. And I said, I'm sorry. I didn't know her. I said, forgive me for this, but that's a stupid question. It's just stupid. It's a laughable question. I told her that. She said, well, I'm actually relieved because I'm from Chicago. I was in Palm Springs, California. She's from Chicago. I said, thank God. There is one GOAT, and he's in another universe from LeBron freaking James. And I'm in awe. You made it. presumably to age 42 on, December 30th. Year 24, you've got a deal where it's your option. You could play a 25th year. I'll make it a magical 25. I won't be surprised if you do it. You love to ball. You love to hoop. Not ball, hoop. I should strike that. Sometimes he balls. But he just loves to hoop. He loves to be in the limelight, the spotlight. He can still do it. I think he's a great fit. I tweeted that today. I think he's a great fit for Philadelphia. I don't understand anybody saying he's not. I'm losing my voice because I'm so upset about this. But I give you this. He's the perfect fit for Philly. He's obviously going to ring chase one more year because he works there. I don't understand anybody who says he doesn't, because he's exactly what they needed. Tyrese has averaged 6 assists a year the last 3 years. That's the closest thing they had to a point guard. James is just a playoff nightmare disaster, James Harden. But the point is that what LeBron does best is pass the basketball. He's a generational passer of the basketball. He's a little better passer than Jordan was, but Jordan 1 year averaged 8 assists. If he had decided, I'm going to do this, but he didn't need to do this because he was the most unstoppable scorer in the history of basketball. He was the greatest clutch scorer in the history of basketball. Poor LeBron James, you see the epic fails. The poor man, it's like the gods give you this and they don't give you this, but the gods gave LeBron James health. They gave him the greatest health you could ever have. 0 surgeries going into year 24. 0. I'm knocking on wood for LeBron. And 0 surgeries. They gave him that, but they didn't give the poor man a clutch gene. They gave the clutch gene, the greatest clutch gene ever, to Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the GOAT, the runaway GOAT, the no doubt GOAT. So just because he made it this far, I'm in awe. But it's strictly longevity records. He's going to break every record. The man has played 130 more games than anybody has played to this point in time. 130 more and counting. And I won't be surprised. Do they have a chance to win? Yes, they have. They should be the favorite to win the East right now. I don't care what Vegas said. They should be the favorite. He's the perfect fit because he's an orchestrator. He's got as high a basketball IQ as anybody since Magic. He just does. I give you that. So that he's the perfect fit. Tyree's not a pure point guard. He's more of a slasher scorer. Jaylen Brown is definitely a taller slasher scorer. Edgecombe is right out of that same mold. So you got lots of slasher scorers going on. You got Joel Embiid, who's as talented a big man as we've ever seen in the history of basketball. And he can't stay healthy because he's never been in great shape. And you can't carry 325, 30, 40, 50 pounds. You can't be 350 and hope to have good knees because you're just coming down too hard on your knees. Joel Embiid is the greatest. This is the irony. Joel Embiid's a way better free throw shooter at 7 feet tall than LeBron James is at 6'9". Way better. He is the greatest 7-foot 3-point shooter we've ever seen, but he can't stay healthy. He can't stay. He's sick and hurt, sick and hurt, sick and hurt. Hurt a lot. Gotcha. All kinds of issues. But if they can manage his minutes and get him reasonably healthy to the playoffs, could the Sixers get even with the Knicks? Yes, they can and they will. I know they got swept by the Knicks this year. That won't happen this time. They even added KCP coming off the bench. LeBron likes him. It's a good fit. They got Anthony Simons. They got Dean Wade. They're better than the Knicks. I love Jalen Brunson, what he did. It was the unity and chemistry and camaraderie in that team was extraordinary, what they did to the Spurs in the finals. I give you that. But they're not better than this team now in Philadelphia.
So at the end of the day, Stephen A is giving LeBron his flowers for making it all the way to year 24, but he still refuses to put him above Michael Jordan. And honestly, that's what makes this debate so entertaining, because LeBron's longevity is becoming almost impossible to ignore. Now he's heading to Philadelphia, where Stephen A believes he could actually be the missing piece that pushes the Sixers toward the top of the East. But if LeBron really does turn this into another deep playoff run, you already know the GOAT debate is going to explode all over again. His supporters will point to the longevity, the records, the championships, and everything he's accomplished across 2 decades. Jordan supporters will immediately come back with the 6 rings, the 6 finals MVPs, the scoring titles, and that perfect finals record. So now the real question is simple. If LeBron somehow wins another championship at 42, does that finally change the conversation? Or will Stephen A still call him nothing more than the longevity GOAT? Let me know where you stand, because this debate clearly isn't going anywhere.